Okay, just going to give you a quick lesson on how you would study from an essay form for English. Okay, so the things that you're going to need, preferably big pieces of paper, A3 if you've got them, doesn't really matter if you don't, A4 is fine. Your essay. Now you can have your essay in two forms. You either have it, as I have, a bunch of palm cards which have the beginnings of the sentences on one side and then the rest of the sentence on the back, or you can just have your whole essay form. You can have it color coded, whatever you seem to work best with is what you can do. So what we need to do is create nodes in our brain where we're linking one point to the next point so that it becomes a sequential memory, and you can keep studying and memorizing through the sequence of the paragraphs. Now, ideally, you don't memorize things word for word. There's a couple of reasons why. One, it's harder. Two, if you do that, you're unlikely to be capable of molding it to fit a question, which you have to do. And three, if you forget a few words, you might come unstuck with your memory, or you'll just stress out and not be able to do it. So this is the ideal way of doing things. So say I would get my big piece of paper. In the middle, I would draw a circle, and in there I would write my topic sentence or the key terms of my topic sentence. Then I'm going to create a mind map of sorts, I suppose, where I take my first quote. Sorry, that's your topic sentence. So I take my first quote, I write it in here. Now I want to write my quotes out in full because these are not things that are going to be paraphrased. These are going to be memorized perfectly. Then around my quote, I'm going to put some of the salient words or ideas or elements that I need to remember. So for example, I'm going to make sure that I've put the name of my technique that I'm interested in. There might be a whole text point you want to make in terms of, is it about characterization? Is it a linear structure, non-linear structure? Has it got something to do with a clash of characters? Things like that. Then I'm going to put any of the salient words, the ones that stand out, that I must remember. So chances are that's hopefully going to be something to do with the impact of the technique. If you are doing a particular module, like Module A, that might have something to do with context, depending on what you've got to do. And I do that. Then what I do, after I have written that, is I take my card or my essay, and I look at my information here, and I read my sentence, contrived as a result of the intense value of human emotions and romanticists, Keats' use of hyperbole and sensual imagery, and I keep reading, and I read that to myself, and then I'll put that away for a second. And then I'm going to look at all this information here, and I'm going to try and write out that sentence. Now, I can do this as many times as I need until I don't need to look at this anymore to write my sentence. It doesn't have to be word for word, but it does have to mean the same thing. Then I'm going to do a nice arrow, might get some nice colors going, depending on what type of learner I am. And I do my second point, and I do the same thing. I put my quote in, and I put my information that I need. And then I go and do the same thing with my third point. Each time I do a new one of these, I stop, I get my sentences, and I have a go at writing it. Now, after I do my first one, and then I do my second one, I'm going to stop for a second, and then I'm going to try and write my first one, followed by my second one. And I'm going to keep looking and following the path. If you don't have the time or the inclination to write this out constantly, then you can actually use verbalization to do it. You would repeat this information, try to construct the sentence in your head. Then go to your next one, repeat this one, and try to construct the sentence in your head. Doing it out loud is better, if you can. If you're not in a library or at school or something like that, when you're in your own space, aloud is best. Okay, and then we keep going until you have created a memory which links these three things in sequential order to do with the main elements. Then, as a form of practice and study, instead of just doing this over and over and over, challenge yourself. go and find a theme or an idea that you think is perhaps relevant to your study and the topic that you are doing, and pop it up here with a post-it note or whatever you've got handy, okay? And you say to yourself, okay, now I'm going to write my sentences and say my terms, but I'm going to do it based on the theme that I have been asked or I've asked of myself. You can use ones from school, that would be good. So for example, let's say I'm now going to do identity as my theme. Generally in almost every text you'll ever get. So I put my identity up here. I can get pen and paper. And I start writing out this quote. Okay, so quote, technique's the same. Whole text elements is the same. Salient words are the same, but what have I got to do? Impact of technique. Well, it now has to be about identity. And I can start reshaping my sentences to see what I can do when I change it to fit a particular theme. And you do this process over and over until you have created these links in your memory and you are working on adapting it to fit different questions, which is essential if you want to do well. Okay, so this is a really easy way to complete a study of a particular essay and practice answering a question. If this is not working for you, it's possible this form doesn't work for you, that's okay. But if it's half working for you but not all the way there, another thing that you can do to help yourself is in each quote or each idea, you can find a little image, or you could draw a little image that you're going to help use to remember particular things. So say this quote was about butterflies. Well then I'm gonna go probably get my own pictures because I can't draw, but find an image of that particular thing and pop that there. So what I'm now doing is I'm also linking a visual image to this information to help me. And when I'm stuck in that exam, I can picture it and I can say, right, butterfly, heart, hands holding, whatever it is. And I can bring those as cues to help me retrieve the memories that I've put in there about that essay. Do this over and over, and eventually you will have a good, solid base in long-term memory of the information that you need to retrieve and adapt to fit particular questions. Okay, good luck.